So today I am going to be talking about my 20-minute adventure trying to annex Pommerania, like I was talking about earlier. But the problem was I recorded it, and then I went to edit it, and I realized my voiceover didn't record at all, which annoyed me a little. But anyhow, I fast-forwarded until my prince inherited the throne so that we could declare war on Pommerania. I was trying to debate whether or not I should just go to war as was and not have Poland help so that I could get all the Pomeranian land myself, because apparently if you allow them to actually physically occupy a territory, you won't be able to claim it for yourself later on when you win the war. And so I was trying to start so that I could capture Pomerania without Poland taking any land. So I tried to ally Brunswick to get them into the war just as a little buffer zone. But when I went to declare war, you'll see in just a second. When I went to declare war on Pomerania, it said that they weren't going to help. I was like, wait a minute, what the heck? And so I kind of looked around again. And then I realized that Brunswick was just in debt. And so like I did last time I played, when I paid Russia like 500 gold to get them out of debt so they'd join my war, I did that again with Brunswick. Or I will at some point in the next couple minutes. But it took me a little while to decide what I was going to do, because I wanted to go to war without Poland's help, but my army isn't massive, and my vassal's army is puny, and even if I had Brunswick's help, it still wouldn't be that large. So I go back to check and see if Brunswick will join me, and I'm like, oh, come on. And then I look and I see they're 14 gold in debt. So what I do is, eventually, I just straight up give Brunswick like 50 gold coins, or 50 gold or whatever, to get them to help me. I'm not sure when I do that. At some point I'm just like, screw it, I'm just gonna give them the money. I think it's now. Yeah, now I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna give them the money if they help me take Pomerania. And I give them 50, just to ensure it. Just to make sure that they're actually not wasting the money I gave them. So I'm like, oh yes, finally Brunswick will help. So finally the long-awaited War of Pomeranian Succession begins. At which time I attempt to rush in and take Pomerania as quickly as possible by myself. And I decided that once I do take Pomerania on my own, I would then call in Poland to help me mop up the leftovers. But as I should have learned earlier, that's not exactly how this game works. Because you can fight armies half your size and get wrecked just because of like a couple of your leader's stats, just because the enemy got lucky and got a more than 1-star general, like the Pomeranians do, as you will soon see. But I did manage to take a couple of Pomeranian territories before the Luneburgians and the Frisians started taking some of my land in return. But I couldn't really do anything about that because I had to stick to the plan and take Pomerania as quickly as possible. Kind of like what Germany tried to do with France during World War I. But fortunately for myself, the results were a little bit different this time. Although, admittedly, it's like 500 years before that, so I should have learned from me. Oh well. I was pleasantly surprised that the Pomeranians over on the right in Stolp just kind of sat there while I besieged their capital. Kind of just waited patiently, hoping I would be able to take the Pomeranian city in the center there before anything happened, but that wasn't the case. My poor little regiment had nowhere to run, so I just let it happen. I just accepted my fate. Because it is Iron Man, so there's not really, nothing you can do about it. Except keep fighting, I guess. So I debated for a minute whether I wanted to actually send in my troops, because I outnumber him by like 50%. So I deliberated for a minute, and I was like, you know what, just go for it. Except it was close. But of course, the enemy team pretty much always wins if there's even a slight advantage. Like, even if they're half your size, if they have an advantage in general, they win. And then I was like, this is not going to end well unless I call Poland in, so I just called Poland in at this point. I was trying to avoid all the enemy armies because I knew in that state mine would just get totally wrecked by absolutely any of their armies. So I kind of hid back for a little bit while Poland began its push through my territory to take out the Frisians and Luneburgians and Ainsbackians or whatever they are. And then I saw my chance to sneak around and keep capturing Pomerania while Poland was in the in the thick of it. So I decided I was going to try that. I was like, wait a minute, that's going to get me killed. So I started to do some sneaky maneuverings so my army wouldn't die on the way back. Which worked pretty decent, all things considered. So. I was a little annoyed that Poland started capturing the Pomeranian capital but I figured it was better than nothing, because at least I had a couple of the territories. Poor old Pommerania with one regiment left. I mopped them up pretty quick. Captured Stolp. And then after that I decided I'd go to the capital and help capture that, while Poland, like I said, did all the heavy lifting for me. And then Austria randomly asked for military access. I was like, well, he's my ally, I may as well. But for some reason, well, the reason being that Austria wouldn't help is because apparently the Holy Roman Emperor doesn't help his allies with territorial disputes, even though he would definitely want our help. Whatever. And then the first nation to ask for peace was Ansbach, the dudes who broke the personal union. And then I looked over there, and Poland left the siege, and that meant once I captured it, it would be mine for the taking once the war was over. Which was very pleasing. A very pleasant surprise. So now that Ansbach was out of the way, all I had to do was take out Friesland, Lüneburg, and I just needed to finish sieging the Pomeranian castle. Then I got the national tax modifier, which boosted my income by just enough to keep my income positive, which is also pleasing. It's always nice when your ally is the Holy Roman Emperor and the Pope. I imagine, since I'm not that great at this game, that the only way I will be able to progress is by having strong allies. I just hope that they don't kill each other and make me break those allegiances. The only case in which that would work is if it was against Poland, so I could take Neumark, but then I'd need like Austria and Sweden and Russia and like everybody, because by the end of the game Poland can be pretty thick, as I realized last time I played as Brandenburg. And then Lüneburg capitulated, so we were left with Friesland, or Frisia, I don't remember, and Pommerania. And Friesland got captured, but they didn't surrender, because I don't know what their deal is. So I just waited to finish the siege in Pommerania and call it a war. Of course, it took like 10 years just to siege a level 1 fort, because that's how this game works. Then poor Lüneburg with 1 regiment got wrecked immediately after he left our war. Rip Lüneburg. The sooner you can consolidate, the better, because all the other nations are trying to do the same. The more land you can grab early in game with all the little nations around, the better. Because if you don't, then everybody else will. And then you won't be able to stand your ground or anything. There we go, it finally finished. I was pleasantly surprised that I was able to take and keep all of the Pomeranian lands myself. Oh yes. And I didn't even have to force it to be my vassal this time. I could just straight up take it over and demand money in the process. And I was like, yes. Yes. And I wasn't even at risk of getting a coalition formed against me. Last time I annexed a bunch of land, and the last time I played as Brandenburg, I got 2 coalitions formed against me, which was not fun. But the goal of the video was to take over Pommerania, which I did almost surprisingly. And then I realized I didn't complete the mission where I had to take Hinterpommern and Vorpommern. And then I realized that I needed Neumark to even get to that part. And Neumark is in a super thick Allies control zone. So that kind of disheartened me. Corruption can break a bank, like, no joke. It can totally wreck you. So I started with a couple cores. I was hoping I'd be able to do them all, but I didn't have enough power. That's always annoying because the rebel force has 17,000 men. Fortunately, all my ships, all 3 of my boats survived. 17,000, yikes. I will only have 14. Yikes. So I recruited a couple more troops, just to make sure I was ready if I did get a rebellion on my hands. I was thinking about building something, but I didn't really feel like it at the moment. Thanks to Poland, I am close, but also far away from forming Prussia. Very frustrating, because almost the same thing happened last time I played Brandenburg. Yeah, see, I need to take Neumark before I can even take Pomerania. So last time I got Neumark, but not Pomerania, because of Poland. This time I don't get Neumark, but I have all of Pommerania. But it's only like, what, like 20 years into the game out of like 400. So I still have time. I have 400 years to take one piece of land so I can actually form Prussia. I don't know if I'm going to want to do that many parts to this little series, but I guess we'll find out. I'm pretty sure I definitely will do more parts. I don't know if they'll all be 20 minutes or if they'll be longer. I'd like to keep them short, but for now, taking Pomerania in one single decisive war is enough for me. The only thing I have to worry about now is Austria demanding to have me return it. But other than that, that's about it, so I'll see you in the next one.